Like and subscribe right now, because what you are about to hear was known by civilizations that never needed a gastroenterologist, never needed a joint replacement surgery, and never swallowed a single synthetic pill they could not pronounce. This knowledge was not lost by accident. It was buried. And today, we are digging it back up. Bone broth. That is where we begin. Not in a laboratory, not in a pharmacy, in a bronze pot, over red fire, in the hands of a prophet who received his cooking instructions directly from God. But before we open that pot, I need you to understand something that modern medicine has been hiding from you for decades. Your gut and your joints are not two separate problems. They are one problem, with one root and one cure. Here is what nobody tells you when you walk into a doctor's office with a swollen knee and a bloated stomach at the same time. The inner lining of your gut and the cartilage membrane of your knee joints share the same inflammatory enemy, the same leaky membrane problem, the same collagen deficiency, the same microbial imbalance tearing both systems apart simultaneously.
When your gut lining breaks down, inflammatory compounds leak directly into your bloodstream. Those compounds travel. They do not stay in the stomach. They reach every joint in your body. They ignite the swelling in your knees. They stiffen the cartilage in your hips. They attack the synovial membranes protecting your fingers. Your knee pain began in your gut. Your gut pain is destroying your joints. And the pharmaceutical industry has been selling you two separate prescriptions for what is actually one single problem, because two prescriptions means twice the profit. Tonight, the archive opens on 7 biblical meals that ancient healers, prophets, and the disciples of Jesus used to repair both systems simultaneously, from the inside out, at the root, without a single synthetic compound. Stay until meal number 5, because God encoded the most powerful anti-inflammatory compound on earth inside a seed so small that most people throw it away without a second glance.
And do not leave before meal number 7, because the final purifying meal in this list was not created by a nutritionist. It was commanded by God the night before the greatest survival journey in human history. And the science behind it will completely silence every gastroenterologist who ever told you that your gut damage was permanent. Let us begin. Before meal number 1, if you are watching this channel for the first time, subscribe right now and tap the notification bell. Every single week, this channel goes deeper into the ancient biblical health blueprint and the modern science that is finally confirming what Scripture always knew. This is completely free. It will always be free. Hit subscribe and let us open the first door. Phase 1. Repairing the gut. The foundation must be laid before the house can stand. Reel number 1. Slow simmered bone broth. The bronze pot of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 24, verses 4 to 5. Close your eyes for a moment. The city of Jerusalem. A turbulent afternoon. The sky heavy. The prophet Ezekiel is sitting in silence when God speaks to him. Not in metaphor, not in vision, but in a precise, methodical, unmistakable cooking instruction.
Ezekiel 24, 4 to 5 records these extraordinary words. Gather the best pieces of meat, the thigh and the shoulder. Fill it with choice bones. Pile a lot of wood underneath. Boil the pot of water and simmer even the bones in it. Stop at those 4 words. Simmer even the bones. For centuries, scholars read that passage and saw only a symbol of judgment, a fiercely boiling pot of punishment. They walked past those words and never looked down into the liquid. But ancient Israelite families read those words differently because they had been simmering bones for generations. They knew what happened when you applied low fire to bones for a very long time. They knew what came out. Now let me tell you what modern medicine discovered when they finally looked into that same pot. Right now, millions of people over 60 are imprisoned in their own homes. They cannot climb a single stair without their knees screaming. They have been told by their doctors that cartilage cannot regenerate, that the cushion between their bone ends is gone forever, that the only option is a cortisone injection that provides 3 months of relief while silently destroying what little cartilage remains, or a total knee replacement at tens of thousands of dollars that carries a recovery period of 6 months and a failure rate nobody at the hospital mentions before you sign the consent form.
That is not healing. That is management of despair. And here is what they never told you. You cannot rebuild a cartilage cushion if you do not supply the body with the original biological building materials. And those materials do not come from a laboratory. They have never come from a laboratory. They come from exactly where God told Ezekiel to look, deep in the bone marrow. When marrow bones are heated at low temperature continuously for 24 to 48 hours, something extraordinary happens inside that liquid. The cartilage layers clinging to the joints, the stiff tendons, the inner marrow core, they dissolve. They release into the water a golden compound that no synthetic supplement has ever successfully replicated. Original type 2 collagen. And with it, biological glucosamine and natural chondroitin, the only 2 foundational building blocks that the human body recognizes as real cartilage material. The same compounds that supplement companies bottle in synthetic form at $60 per month, and that your intestinal wall cannot absorb because they were manufactured in a chemical plant rather than extracted from living bone by fire and time. The collagen in genuine bone broth has been perfectly broken down by 48 hours of low heat. It passes through the intestinal membrane as if the wall were not there. It enters the bloodstream directly, and it travels straight to your worn cartilage, delivering the bricks your joints have been begging for. But there is something else happening simultaneously. The gelatin released from slow-simmered bones coats and seals the intestinal lining. Every leak in your gut wall, every microscopic hole that has been allowing inflammatory compounds to flood your bloodstream is quietly patched by the gelatin layer that forms when real bone broth cools. 1 pot, 2 simultaneous repairs. The gut lining sealed, the joint cartilage rebuilt. God told Ezekiel to simmer the bones. He was not speaking about punishment. He was speaking about medicine. How to prepare it correctly. Seek the freshest marrow bones, neck bones, and beef or lamb cartilage from a butcher, not supermarket pre-packaged bones stripped of their marrow. Place them in your slow cooker. Add a pinch of sea salt, 1 whole onion halved, 4 garlic cloves, and do not skip this, 1 full tablespoon of raw apple cider vinegar. The vinegar is not for flavor. It is the exact chemical key that unlocks calcium and minerals hidden deep in the bone core, drawing them out into the water where your body can receive them. Set the heat to the lowest setting. Walk away for 24 hours. The silence of time and the quiet smoldering warmth will do the rest of the work. When the water reduces and becomes thick, when it shimmers with a layer of golden fat and gels completely when cooled, you have made what God prescribed. Every morning,
Instead of reaching for an anti-inflammatory pill that is silently tearing your stomach lining, heat a small glass of this broth. Drink it slowly before any other food enters your body. Important note, if you have been diagnosed with kidney disease or gout, consult your doctor before significantly increasing your protein intake. The purines in bone broth may require monitoring. Meal number 2. Fermented curds with raw honey. The first meal of a king. Isaiah 7:15. There is a verse in Isaiah that most people have read 100 times and walked right past without understanding what God was actually saying. Isaiah 7:15, speaking of the child who would bring salvation to humanity. The prophet did not place that child at a royal feast. He did not surround him with fine wine and roasted lamb.
He spoke a single quiet sentence that carries the weight of an entire nutritional prescription. He will eat curds and honey until he knows to reject the bad and choose the good. The first food of a king, not gold, not silver, not a banquet, curds and honey. Now imagine that quiet morning on the rocky hills of ancient Judea, the dew still on the dry grass. A shepherd has just finished milking the first streams of goat milk into a clay jug. He does not boil it, no pasteurization, no treatment. He simply sets it in the warmth of the daytime sun and lets nature and time slowly work, turning that living liquid into soft white curds teeming with billions of living microorganisms. This is not breakfast. This is a biological repair system. Here is what the pharmaceutical industry does not want you to understand about your gut. Right now, the most aggressively marketed products for digestive health are proton pump inhibitors, drugs that suppress stomach acid, acid blockers, antacids. The entire premise is that your stomach produces too much acid, and the acid is the enemy. That is one of the most destructive medical lies of the past 50 years. Your stomach acid is not the enemy. When the right bacteria are present in sufficient numbers, your gut becomes a peace factory. Anxiety decreases, brain fog lifts, sleep improves. All because the same meal that Isaiah gave to a future king is recolonizing the biological army in your stomach. But curds alone are only half the prescription. Raw honey, unheated, unfiltered, still carrying the scent of pollen and wild wind, contains oligosaccharide molecules. These are the most perfect natural prebiotic food that exists. They feed the bacterial army that the curds just deposited, multiplying them rapidly and establishing a permanent colony rather than a temporary visit. But raw honey does something else that modern science only discovered in the 1990s. It contains a natural enzyme that continuously releases hydrogen peroxide at a controlled microdose. This hydrogen peroxide acts as a precisely targeted antiseptic, finding and destroying the H. pylori bacteria responsible for stomach ulcers, while leaving the beneficial bacteria completely untouched.
One side rebuilds, one side eliminates. A perfect biological machine. How to use it correctly? Do not buy dead yogurt from a supermarket shelf, pasteurized at high temperature. The bacteria are gone. You are buying flavored milk paste. Seek kefir, the original fermented milk drink, or plain unsweetened Greek yogurt where the live cultures are still breathing. Read the label. It must say live active cultures with specific strain names, not just contains probiotics. Add 1 tablespoon of raw honey,
Raw honey that has never been heated, still opaque, slightly crystallized, smelling of flowers and wilderness. Eat it very slowly in the morning on a quiet, empty stomach, before bone broth, before anything else. Chew it. Even though it is liquid, the act of moving it slowly across your tongue allows the oligosaccharides in the honey to begin their work before the mixture even reaches your stomach.
Important note: diabetics must consult their physician before adding honey. Those with dairy sensitivity should seek coconut kefir as an equivalent probiotic base. If what you are hearing right now is giving you something your doctor never mentioned in any appointment, hit the like button immediately. That single action tells YouTube that this information deserves to reach every person over 60 whose gut and joints have been suffering in silence. Subscribe if you have not yet done so. We are just beginning. Meal number 3. Bitter herb salad with cold-pressed olive oil. God's emergency detox command. Exodus chapter 12, verse 8. There is a night in the history of humanity that stands alone. The Passover night. Imagine it. Egypt. The darkest and most fierce night the ancient Israelites had ever known. Millions of people standing in closed houses with staffs in hand and belts tightened, ready for a great escape into the wilderness at a moment's notice. Here is the extraordinary biology that God encoded in bitterness. The moment a genuinely bitter compound, carvacrol, lactucopicrin, cynarin, touches the taste buds on the back of your tongue, a red alert signal fires immediately along the vagus nerve. That nerve runs like a biological lightning bolt from your tongue directly to your liver. The liver receives the command. It startles, it contracts, and it forces the gallbladder wide open, releasing a cascade of thick, concentrated bile into the small intestine. That bile is the most powerful biological cleaning agent the human body produces. It dissolves stubborn fat deposits stuck in the liver. It sweeps away oxidized cholesterol. It pierces the protective shell of every parasite nesting in your gut. It creates an environment so hostile to harmful microorganisms that they cannot survive. And cold-pressed olive oil, drizzled over the bitter herbs, acts as the transport vehicle. The polyphenols in the oil amplify the bile cascade and carry the bitter compounds deeper into the intestinal wall than they would penetrate alone. How to prepare it? Go beyond the pale iceberg lettuce that has been stripped of every useful compound. Seek arugula, dandelion leaves, mature dark kale, wild bitter melon, chicory. These are the vegetables that still carry the original genome of bitterness that God designed. Mix them into a rustic salad. Add a pinch of coarse sea salt, several drops of fresh lemon, and 2 tablespoons of cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil. Never refined oil, never heated oil. Most importantly, eat it 15 minutes before your main meal. Not after, not with, before. And when that fierce, bitter, astringent taste floods your mouth, do not reach for water. Do not add sweet dressing to escape it. Sit with it. Chew it slowly. The shudder that moves through your body in that moment is not discomfort. It is the sound of your bile duct opening. The sound of your liver performing the deep cleaning that God prescribed the night before the greatest journey His people ever made. Important note: those on blood-thinning medications should consult their doctor before significantly increasing bitter greens, particularly dandelion, as these have natural blood-thinning compounds. Phase 2. Repairing the joints. Meal 4.
barley bread dipped in cold-pressed olive oil. The Good Samaritan's first remedy, Luke 10:34. There is a moment in Luke chapter 10 that most people have read as a story about compassion. But look more carefully at what the Good Samaritan actually reached for. A man lay dying on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho, beaten, stripped, left for dead in the dust. A priest passed, a Levite passed. Both chose blindness over mercy. And then the Samaritan stopped. Luke 10:34 records the first thing he did with extraordinary precision.
Oleocanthal leaves the stomach lining completely untouched. It does not require the liver to work overtime. It does not accelerate cartilage breakdown as a side effect. It lubricates the synovial membranes inside the joint simultaneously, reducing friction while reducing inflammation, doing two jobs that ibuprofen cannot do and has never attempted to do. How to identify genuine oleocanthal. When you swallow real cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil, you will feel a slight pungency, a barely perceptible harshness at the back of your throat, almost like the very early stage of a mild cough reflex. Do not dismiss that sensation. That is not poor quality oil. That is oleocanthal activating in your throat, and it is the most reliable physical confirmation that what you are consuming is genuine. How to prepare it. Seek flat, heavy barley bread, the bread of Galilean laborers, not white flour flatbread, actual barley, the grain that fed armies across the biblical world. Pour 2 tablespoons of cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil stored in a dark glass bottle onto a small plate. Sprinkle a pinch of coarse sea salt. Tear the bread. Dip it fully. Eat slowly. Never heat extra virgin olive oil. Fire completely destroys oleocanthal at temperatures above 180 degrees Celsius. The moment that oil smokes, the medicine is gone. What remains is simply fat. Use it cold. Always cold. On food, on salads, on soup after it leaves the heat. Never inside the cooking pot. Meal 5. Freshly crushed black mustard seed sauce. God's wise planting order. Isaiah 28:25. There is something hidden inside a black mustard seed that will completely change how you understand the word healing. Not just what healing is, but when it happens. Imagine a field in ancient Israel. Early morning. The soil has just been plowed. A farmer is walking slowly, methodically, dropping seeds into the earth with precise and careful order. Wheat in this row, barley in that row, and in a careful corner, black mustard seeds, placed with deliberate intention. Isaiah 28:25 records this scene with a reverence that most readers miss. The farmer did not invent this planting order himself. God taught it to him. The Creator did not just teach humans to grow food to fill their stomachs. He taught them to grow biological fire.
And here is what makes the black mustard seed one of the most extraordinary healing compounds God ever placed in the earth. Pick up an intact mustard seed. Hold it in your palm. There is absolutely no heat, no spice, no pungency whatsoever. Inside that seed, 2 compounds are locked in completely separate chambers. Sinigrin in one chamber, an enzyme called myrosinase in another chamber. They are perfectly separated by nature. They cannot interact while the seed is intact. The moment you crush that seed, the chambers collapse. Sinigrin and myrosinase collide with explosive chemistry. Within seconds, they generate a compound called allyl isothiocyanate,
AITC. This is not a flavor compound. This is one of the most powerful vasodilators in the entire plant kingdom. When AITC enters the bloodstream, it sends an emergency signal to the circulatory system. The capillaries constricting around your frozen, stiff joints, the ones that have been starving your cartilage of oxygen for years, are immediately forced open. A surge of warm blood carrying billions of oxygen-carrying red blood cells floods directly into the joint sockets that have been locked in cold stiffness.
Now, and this is the most critical instruction, wait exactly 10 minutes in silence. Do not stir. Do not rush. Do not add anything else yet. That silence is when the chemistry works. Sinigrin and myrosinase are meeting each other for the first time. AITC is being born. After 10 minutes, you will know it is ready. A sharp, pungent smell will rise from the mortar so powerfully it reaches your nose before you lean toward it. That is the breath of life. Mix it with a few drops of cold-pressed olive oil into a thick sauce. Spread it on barley bread. Use it as a dip with grilled fish. When that wave of heat moves through your chest and runs along your limbs after you swallow, that is warm, oxygenated blood flooding into joints that have been cold and stiff for years. Important note. Those with thyroid conditions should limit mustard seed consumption, as isothiocyanates can interfere with thyroid function at high doses. Consult your physician. We are almost at the final phase, and what is coming next is the meal that God commanded on the most desperate night in biblical history. If this video has already given you something that no doctor ever mentioned, share it right now with one person whose gut and joints have been suffering. You do not need to say anything, just send the link. And drop a comment below right now. Which of these first 5 meals surprised you the most? I read every single comment. Let us finish this. Phase 3. Complete restoration. Pump life back into every cell. Meal number 6. Soaked almonds and figs with olive oil. Jacob's gift and Hezekiah's medicine. Genesis 43:11 plus 2 Kings 20, verse 7. There were 2 biblical moments separated by centuries, but connected by a single healing truth. The first, approximately 1800 BC, the land of Canaan is writhing in the most severe famine in history. Patriarch Jacob is forced to send his sons back to Egypt to face the most powerful and terrifying vizier in the world, who is actually his own son Joseph, though he does not know it. Jacob needed a gift, not gold, not silver. In the middle of famine, those were meaningless. Genesis 43:11 records his urgent directive. If it must be so, take some of the most exquisite products of this land, a little balm, honey, myrrh, pistachios, and almonds. In a civilization-threatening famine, the most exquisite products of the land were nuts and dried fruits. The second moment, approximately 700 BC, King Hezekiah, one of the greatest kings in Judah's history, lay at death's door, gravely ill.
Soaking removes phytic acid entirely. How to prepare it? Every night before sleeping, take a small handful of raw almonds and 2 dried figs. Place them together in a bowl of filtered water with a pinch of sea salt. As night falls, the water will dissolve the phytic acid and awaken the dormant enzymes inside both the almonds and the figs. In the morning, discard the soaking water. Peel the thin silk skin from the almonds with your fingers. The skin slides off easily. Add 2 drops of cold-pressed olive oil. The fat amplifies magnesium absorption significantly. Chew everything together very slowly. The quiet, natural sweetness of the fig, combined with the soft cream of the soaked almond, is extraordinary. And by week 2 of consistent use, most people report that the 3 a.m. cramps have stopped. The tingling in the fingers has decreased. The morning joint stiffness is shorter. Jacob was not choosing a luxury gift in famine. He was choosing the most powerful neuromuscular repair compounds available on earth. Meal number 7, whole pressed dark grape. Preparation. The Apostle Paul's silent prescription. 1 Timothy 5:23. Imagine a dimly lit room, somewhere in the 1st century. An oil lamp casting warm, unsteady light across a writing surface.
The boxed grape juice sitting on your supermarket shelf is sugar water with food coloring. The skin and seeds, where every medicinal compound lives, were removed during processing. The cheap industrial wine is flooded with sulfite preservatives that destroy gut microbiome and damage the nervous system. You are buying the corpse of Paul's prescription. How to reclaim the genuine preparation. Buy the darkest black grape bunches available, Concord grapes specifically. The darker the pigment, the higher the resveratrol and OPC concentration. They must have seeds. Seedless grapes carry a fraction of the therapeutic value. Place them in a slow juicer, skin, seeds, and all. The crunching sound of the seeds being pressed is the sound of the medicine being released. Drink 150 milliliters of this freshly pressed whole grape juice daily with your evening meal. If you prefer fermented preparation, seek organic red wine, naturally fermented without added sulfites. A small glass with dinner, exactly as Paul prescribed. A little, not a vessel. When that slightly astringent taste of the grape skin and seeds moves down your throat, feel it.
That astringency is the OPCs meeting your gut lining. That is resveratrol entering your bloodstream. That is the silent prescription of the Apostle, 2,000 years old, and confirmed by every major cardiovascular research institution studying polyphenol medicine today. Important note, those on blood-thinning medications, blood pressure medication, or who have alcohol sensitivity must consult their physician before consuming fermented grape preparations. Pregnant women should consume juice form only. You do not need all 7 on the first day. Start with bone broth and bitter herb salad. Add 1 meal each week. Within 7 weeks, you will have built the complete ancient healing system that God designed. The same system that kept prophets sharp, kings strong, disciples tireless, and armies alive through the harshest conditions the ancient world ever produced. Your gut is not permanently broken. Your joints were not designed to fail. Your body was pre-programmed since the dawn of time with a self-repairing mechanism so sophisticated that the greatest medical institutions on earth are only now beginning to measure what it can do, when you give it what God designed it to receive. The blueprint was never lost. It was written in Ezekiel's bronze pot, in Isaiah's curds and honey, in the Samaritan's flask of oil, in Paul's handwritten letter to a sick young man by lamplight in the 1st century. It has been there the entire time. Hit the like button right now if this video gave you something your doctor never mentioned in any appointment. That one action puts this ancient truth in front of every person over 60 whose gut and joints are quietly suffering while they fill prescriptions that were never designed to heal them. Subscribe to this channel right now and tap the notification bell, because next week we go deeper into the forgotten biblical healing blueprint. And what is coming next will completely change how you understand the connection between your faith and your physical body. Share this video with one person you love whose gut or joints have been struggling. You do not have to explain anything. Just send the link. It could be the beginning of their healing. And drop a comment below right now. Write the word healed if you are committing to beginning this protocol this week. Tell me which meal you are starting with. I read every single comment, and your answer shapes what this channel builds next. God placed the answer in the earth before he placed the sickness in the world. You have always had access to the blueprint. Now you know how to read it. I will see you in the next one. God bless you.